Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Nice to see you again. For those who don't know me, I'm Kiro Yordanov. I come from Macedonia. I teach in a primary school. I have an MA in literature, but I'm also a great enthusiast in using IT in education, connecting my classroom to other classrooms around the world, and using different platforms, etc., etc. So, I will start my presentation, Global Learning, or the whole world is a classroom with Belouga. As you've all seen, I'm wearing a special t-shirt today, so probably you're wondering, what is this about? I'll start with the question. What have you done to connect your classroom with other classrooms in the world? Have you done that by now? Yeah, there are different platforms for... What have you done, for example? Sorry?
It's winning.
Okay, eTwinning. It's a good way to connect classrooms. Anybody else? No. Okay, so what about, what have you done in your classroom to grow the empathy of the kids? Empathy. No? Empathy is a very, very important 21st century skill. Very important. One of the most important, as I've realized by now, it's one of the most important 21st century skill. So, have your students or have your school helped other schools, for example, across the globe, to, I don't know, solve some issue, help some students or some classrooms in need? Have you done that? Or is there a way to do that?
Yes, we have sent books.
You can send books, okay.
Bulgarians who live in other countries.
Okay, to Bulgarians who live in other countries, you send books. Okay, via what? What have you used to send those books?
Parcels.
Parcels. Okay. I've used Belouga with my students, and now you'll find out what's Belouga. So, what is Belouga? First of all, it's a social network. All of you, when we hear social network, we think of Facebook, etc., etc. But this social network is a very safe social network. That's very important, because on the network there are only teachers, schools, and students. Then it's a platform for communication. Students from all over the world can communicate on this platform. It enables students from all over the world to collaborate and communicate on different topics, different joint actions, etc., etc. This is very important, a platform for asking for help from other schools and educational institutions. So we're not only dependent of the money we're getting from the ministry, from, I don't know, some generous businessmen, etc., etc. So schools can help each other through this platform, and meeting friends and collaboration on projects, and I believe is the future of education. So this is very shortly of what Belouga is. Why do we use Belouga? Again, with Belouga, we're building intercultural connection. Imagine if you want to connect with students, your students from Bulgaria, for example, to connect with students in Nigeria, in the USA, in China, etc., etc. So we're teaching other students things that are not in the books. And the students are teaching their peers from around the world, from the other part of the globe, about their culture. So they're not dependent on the books, on the internet, they're teaching them themselves. And I will show you later how. Very important thing, we want to change the world. And everyone can change the world if they want, of course. So, students hear from other peers about cultures firsthand, share innovative teaching in the world, and, as I said before, is the future of education. So, first of all, we teach students to share. So how does it work? If you can open the Belouga platform if you want. You have the site there. So we teach our students to share. So by earning how does it work? Students create their profiles. It's very important that their profiles has to be connected to a school. So if they're not in the school, because Belouga approves the school, and then students create their profiles and they create the classrooms. So classrooms are connected with other classrooms around the world. So students create their profiles, share information. For example, what's the traditional food in Bulgaria? What's the traditional food in Nigeria? What's the traditional food around the world? And they share that information and at the same time get information from other countries. And all this is educational. Students can learn about the world firsthand from their peers. So they share both information, and it's very important then that they share their effort, they share everything that it depends on the need of the school. So how do we share? There is a news feed on Belouga. You can find it if you open the platform. And we share the way of life and some specific cultural traits that cannot be learned any other ways. Here, how we help each other for, what was this?
This is Halloween.
Yeah, for Halloween. So it's on Belouga. We teach our students to collaborate. So also collaboration is a 21st century skill, which is essential. Belouga helps us open the door of our classroom. So we're teaching in a small community right now in our classroom, 30 students, but if you use Belouga, then you'll open up your classrooms to the whole world. You'll share what you've got to share. You share your way of teaching. You share new methods. You share books, different languages, etc., etc. And Belouga will enable your students to work directly with their peers around the world. Later you'll see how it's done. Yeah, we connect students from all over the world. I've already spoken about this. So with Belouga, we tore down the walls of our classroom and create a global classroom. Okay, this is our students communicated with students from the USA. And then the students from the USA are asking them to pronounce words in Macedonia, then talk with each other, ask each other about their culture, about their favorite food, about many different things. And actually, a professor from the United States taught, for example, you can teach in other classrooms in the world via Belouga, or you can teach, or your kids can hear firsthand from other peers from around the world. And these are the impact campaigns I was talking about. So students can make impact on the world by using Belouga. They earn points with their specific. They have their own site, and with their they create profiles. On their profiles, they make points and they donate their points for a certain problem in the world, and they can make impact to different students. So students can help schools in need, the students themselves, by just working on Belouga, answering questions, communicating, etc., etc. So this is the social impact I'm talking about. These are the Belouga impacts. This is how they look. So, for example, the Prince and Princess Academy wanted a truck cloud of CSN to build a classroom, or another school in Kenya wanted to get 3 tablets and a couple of months for Wi-Fi. Clean water, for example, Cherry Educational Center in Nairobi, Kenya didn't have any clean water to drink, any drinkable water. So the students all around the world can enable them to have clean water. For example, my students helped their friends in Nigeria to build a classroom. After collecting all those points, we as classrooms donated those points to these students in need and built their classrooms.
Can you explain how?
Okay.
How do these points
So
work?
they have, I've said it very fast and you probably didn't understand. So they made their own profiles, like profiles on different social media. And by, for example, adding a photograph of their favorite food, they get 10 points. Or by answering to a comment to other students, for example, what is this dish? How do you make this dish? And they answer, like they give them the recipe, etc., and they get points. And after that, they donate those points to the social impact. For example, okay, here the campaigns. For one truckload of sea sand, this school needed 125,000 points. Students earned those points and donated to the academy.
And then Belouga pays for the...
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
That was
Mm-hmm.
Where did the money come from?
No, Belouga doesn't pay. They buy the sand and give it to the school in need.
If you guys have more detailed questions, I can help out with some of those.
Mm. So my students helped their friends in Nigeria build a classroom. I have a video of the impact campaign they made in Nigeria. I really wanted to play it to you, and then afterwards we're going to talk about the video. Okay? So this is the school in Nigeria that we donated to.
Cheery Children's Center.
This is the Children Education Center, and our students are using these structures, which are dangerous to their safety. We're looking at people who will come up and help us pull this structure down so that we can set up new structures like this one. And therefore, we are looking at
Look at this school. This is very dangerous and students are learning here.
classroom for these wonderful children that you can see now going home. Even inside this hall that they are using is not that good.
To the classroom.
Look at it and see.
Anytime any of us complain
So
about our
I
school
believe
facilities,
that your support will really help us pull this structure down and set up a new structure for our students. Thank you from
you've
Church.
seen our kids' reactions when they saw this.
Until we have connected this
One more video. There's one more video
children.
from this school.
Water that we fill in this tank comes from a vendor. If you can see the pipe, this yellow pipe, it goes like this, and it's going up to the main connection where the vendor opens so that we can fill the tank. And this filling of the tank is at a cost of $15 per week to serve 450 students. This is where the vendor opens so that we can get the water. Thank you for those that are going to support us fill the tank every month. Thank you.
So my students were as quiet as you are now, and they were like, watching the video, is this true? How can we help these children get better school, better facilities? They're like, and before that they were complaining all the time. Teacher, our internet is down again. Oh, we don't have enough computers. And then I show them this video. They're like, we're so lucky to have all these things. Like, they didn't realize that before. So here, this is the way I build empathy with my students. It's very, very important too. Then we also donated and finished a campaign for refugees in the States who were asking for 100 notebooks. And like I'm saying, you're not using your notebooks, and they want to write down in the notebooks, and they don't have any notebooks. Like they don't have anything. Like they don't have computers, they don't have notebooks, they don't. How do they learn? And then when we donated and finished the campaign, it was like only 100 notebooks. And after a while, my director calls me and says, "Okay, Kiro, students are collecting money. Why are they doing it?" I said, "I don't know." And then I asked the student, "What are you doing, guys? Why are you collecting all those money?" "We want to buy notebooks for those students and send them to Kenya." To Ghana, right? To Ghana. And I said, "No, you can't collect money in the school. Like we helped them with their impact campaign." And after that, the next day, the principal calls me, "Why are the students all collecting notebooks around the school?" See, it created great empathy with them.
Yeah.
These kids collected, I think it was 250 notebooks over the course of 3 days.
All the kids started
You
collecting
actually
notebooks.
sent those notebooks?
I'm currently working with the Peace Corps, with one of the Peace Corps coordinators, and sorry, now that everybody can hear me, I'm currently working with one of the Peace Corps financial officer, and at one of the next Peace Corps summits, they're going to actually be handing it to the country director of the Ghana country director. And so it's like, that way we don't have, like, our kids don't wind up having to also also have to justify, like, "Oh, and this is going to cost $350 to send a heavy box." Nothing, that would be quite interesting to try to see their faces on.
So, like, we've accomplished the goal of creating empathy amongst our students, and at the same time, we helped a school in the other part of the world to get a school in need to get what they needed. So this is the school we saw before on the video. So Belouga teaches students to appreciate what resources they have. Right? They don't have anything. They didn't have any desks in the classroom. They didn't have any electricity, and we helped them with building this classroom.
Their campaign was for 1,000 nails. And using those nails, they are currently in the process of completely rebuilding that structure.
Yeah. This is my students using Belouga, and I haven't seen their faces as happy as they are on these pictures. And they're currently like saying, "Oh, this my friend from from Ghana answered me. What is like some kind of food they're talking about? They're learning all the time, and they can also use Belouga at home." Two more photographs of my students working on Belouga. Okay, also I wanted to talk about what you benefit as teachers. Presently, Belouga is working on creating lessons for teachers, and all those lessons are based or are following the 17 SDGs of UN, or Sustainable Development Goals. Like, how can we help the elephants that are dying in Africa? How can we, there are campaigns, how can we plant more trees, or how can we clean the area? So that's very interesting. That's the new thing on Belouga, and at the same time, they are making the platform available for the teachers to make their own lessons and put them on Belouga, so other teachers can use your lesson, or you can use other teachers' lesson when you're teaching. Okay, so every teacher can upload materials, but they first have to be checked by Belouga and see if there's something that shouldn't be on platform designed for teachers and students around the world.
So do they upload like lesson plans and
lesson plans, but more material, like videos, like photographs, like text or something.
Basically, you're allowed to design a lesson from start to finish. These lessons will be searchable and coordinated by the UN SDGs they fulfill. In addition, students will be rewarded with 50 points for each student in the classroom as the lesson is completed. There's various polls and such within the lesson. And in general, it's like these lessons are designed so that Matt calls them accordion lessons. They're designed so that you can cover them in one 40-minute class, or you can use the entire unit to span the entirety of the school semester. And it's everything from, he was talking about the poaching of the elephants in Africa. They've also got stuff like digital citizenship. They've got stuff like innovation in solar energy. It's like every teacher is able to craft different lessons according to where their specialties are.
So if you find anything on Belouga that can be useful for your lessons, you can write there. You can use it, and you earn points on Belouga too. So, did anyone of you open the Belouga platform?
It's an error, internal error.
Internal error?
Yes.
I'll pull it up after the presentation, and we'll see if we can get it working.
Mm-hmm. So we can change the world with Belouga. That's my motto. Like, you can help, collaborate, connect, and learn from each other, which is very important because we're living in a time when some information are not correct, or someone else is producing those. But when you can hear firsthand from your colleagues from the other world, part of the world, or from other students from other part of the world, that's very important. So I also want to play two of my students who are talking about Belouga and what their experience is with Belouga. So I'd love you to look at that. They're not very long videos.
So what's your name? My name is Boshi. Hi, Boshidar. And what are we doing in class today?
Today, we're going to be introducing ourselves to a website called Belouga.
What's Beluga?
Belouga is a website that lets you communicate and connect to other classrooms from all around the globe.
Awesome. That sounds really interesting. What can you tell me about it?
Well, when you start out at first, you have profile questions. So you answer them and then you get badges. And after that, you can connect to other classrooms from all around the globe.
Sounds like Facebook mixed with Pokemon.
Yeah, kind of. It is.
So what's your favorite part about Beluga?
Well, my favorite part is answering all profile questions because they're interesting and they allow you to post videos and photos along with the answers.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. And what's been your favorite part about being on Beluga thus far?
Well, just the fact that I can post videos and photos on there, and then everybody else can watch them, and I can watch videos from other kids too. That sounds like fun to me.
So where are we?
We're in Macedonia right now, in Chile.
And where do you attend school?
In OOU, Slaviko Arstov, Chile.
Oh. Can you tell us something in Macedonian?
Belouga je najbolja website.
And what does that mean?
That means that Belouga is the best website because it lets you communicate with others.
Awesome. Is there any question that you'd like to ask the rest of the world?
Well, not really a question. I just want to tell them that Belouga is really fun, so if they think they should try it out, they should.
And would you like to meet up with all of them?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to tell them?
No, that's all.
Okay.
I promise this is not scripted.
What's the age of the
Hi,
child?
what's your name?
That is a sixth grader,
Hi, Sandra. What are you?
Sixth grade, yeah.
as is this one.
This is also
Hi, what's your name?
grade.
Hi, I'm Sandra.
Hi, Sandra. What are we doing in class today?
We're using the Belouga.
So what's Beluga?
Belouga is a website we can connect with other people around the world.
Really, that sounds interesting. Steve, what do you do on Beluga?
On Belouga, we have like a website, and there's plenty questions, and we have to answer them all to get 100 points. Then we can connect with other people or talk.
Really? That sounds kind of like Facebook.
Yeah, similar like Facebook, but for us children, we use Belouga.
Awesome. Is there something you like about Beluga?
The questions and how it's made for the children.
Really? What's your favorite part?
Answering the questions.
Awesome. Well, can you tell us anything in Macedonian?
Something in Macedonian? Belouga е много хубаво место, казва, што можеме да се сообразуваме со другите деца околу свет.
Oh, that sounds like fun. What was that?
Belouga is so beautiful, and we can connect with other kids around the world.
Awesome. And is there any questions you want to ask the world?
Well, I want to ask them to write down on Belouga, to sit down and write on Belouga what's their favorite food, name, culture, history, about the country they're living in.
And what school are you in so they can look you up?
Okay, this is. So, what we wanted to share with the world and we presented on Belouga was this. Okay, I'm also part. These are all students from different backgrounds. For example, there's students whose parents were divorced, or there are some students with different nationalities, and then we wanted to show the world that they're all part of the same world, and they have all of them have the same rights, the same needs, etc., etc. This kid has ADHD, and like he's advancing great in his lessons, but like we don't want him to feel different. So. It's Turkish student.
All the children are the same. Ние сме сите еднакви во општеството. We are all equal in society. И фати ме поради тоа кој сум, не поради тоа како изгледам. It praise me for who I am. Не сакам да бидам прифатен поради облеката што ја носам. Don't want to be accepted for the clothes I wear.
Имам право да барам среќа.
I've got the right to pursue happiness. Дайте ми шанса да бидам дел од општеството. Give me a chance to be a part of society. И аз можам да допринесам на заедницата и на општеството.
I can contribute to the community and to society.
My skin color does not define me. Моята кожа не ме дефинира. Рenginin rengi senin aktif olmanı göstermiyor. Skin color does not represent intellect. I have an intellect. Benim akılım. Я съм просто како и сите други.
I'm just as capable as everyone else.
I have a right to education. Јас имам право на образование. Ја esmu student.
Except.
Јас
So, like, you can share whatever you want to share with the world. There's another feature on Belouga, which is, I believe, very important for the teachers. That's professional development. So they're offering tutorials from different professionals. They're offering not only tutorials but programs for professional development.
Yes, these are going to be. It's still currently. It's just about to launch. This is actually going to be the portion of Belouga that is not paid, not free. You actually will have to pay a small fee. But in trade, these will actually be internationally university accredited coursework. So using Belouga, teachers will be able to get certified for different things, and you'll have another outlet to get your CD hours.
Also, if you want to present some new way of teaching, if you want to present something you're doing in your classroom, you can present it on Belouga, you can present it to other teachers, you can be part of those tutorials if you like. If you have something to say to the world or to say to the other teachers around.
Is it an American platform?
It's, yeah, it's currently based out of New York City.
Based in New York, but it will be all over the world very soon. So
it's already all over the
Australia,
world.
they're in Australia.
There's a big hub in Australia. Understandably, there's a large hub in America. You've got it's now officially ratified by the Colombian government. They've actually got a partnership set up. You've got, it's actually beginning to explode all over Latin America. Africa, as you just noticed, it's very big into it as well. In fact, they've actually got a current Belouga impact, they're currently working with, but they're currently using Belouga to help with their SDGs and their, I forget, what was that hashtag campaign they were part of during,
SDG
yeah.
2030.
Yeah, it's a big campaign that they've been working on for the last several months, and it's like they had virtually as many members of the Belouga community take selfies with their Impact Campaigns logo. It's like, aside from that, it's like it's a growing worldwide thing. It's also beginning to catch fire in China. For a while, there was a classroom in Japan. I think right now it's currently on hiatus, but there's a growing following in Cambodia.
So I'm going to.
You're about to get a live fire exercise. Does anybody else have any questions while he's booting it up?
Are there any university students that are involved?
Right now they're still trying to get a following in the primary sector, primary to middle. Their target audience right now is elementary and middle schools and high schools. Because I think they're thinking about making a more graduated version of Belouga for university. But they don't, they're trying to figure out a way that they don't want the college kids mixing with the first graders, because, well, ask an American parent.
They cannot send each other private messages. That's very important. So everything they write on Belouga can be seen by everyone. So that's very important.
How safe is it?
That's very important. That's safe.
The
And
teacher
everybody
is able to moderate any content that is posted on Belouga.
Everybody there is teachers or students.
So I would like to ask, whether we have to ask for permission by parents to be included in participation?
Yes, if your school is one of those that requires that, then they actually do have generalized forms on Belouga that you can print out for that. And then you can actually have your parents sign it.
Because if they're going to be seen, and they can be seen by a lot of people worldwide.
So they don't put pictures of their face on I'm very sorry we can't open it now. I don't know what's this.
It's on their side.
It's probably they're working on this.
Yeah, maybe just that their techs are currently working on the site.
Does each teacher register their own class separately?
Yes,
Or the
so-
whole class reads?
So the process of doing this,
Registers as a school.
the way it used to be is that the teacher had to fill out a basic application to send in their information to Belouga. Belouga would give them a specific identification code that was a very long string of letters and numbers. From what I hear, it's gotten a lot more streamlined since Kiro and I joined. So now you can just fill out your application, send it to Belouga, and they'll allow you to start fixing your class from there. But generally, students are allowed to create their own usernames and passwords, and you will have access to all of that as the teacher. And so the student.
How about the school?
Do what?
Does the school apply?
The school apply, like, generally you apply, as the teacher, you'll fill out the information, like, your school's information. It'll take a little bit because what Belouga does is they geotag your school. So they're making sure that the address you give them is genuine. And they also make sure that there's actually somebody with that name working at that school. Because, again, especially whenever you deal with countries that are hyper protective over their kids, like America or places like that, it's like they want to have precisely -60 chance that there's somebody that is not who they claim they are.
So it's a very safe environment for the kids, and they can like impact the world, and at the same time learn. For example, we use Belouga. It's very unfortunate that we can't open the site, but when you go into the site, go into their profiles, there are questions from different topics.
Yeah.
For example, history, then food, then different topics on which they have questions to answer. And we use those, for example, when we had the topic food in our classroom, and we use those classroom to teach them the words for food. Or when we have history, we use that to revise about some important historical things. And
Yeah,
you can, and at the same time, you can blend with a history teacher, geography teacher, so to work
It's
on
as
the topic.
it's as cross-platform implementable as you can imagine. Basically, for example, the culinary section, it's not just talking about like, what's your favorite food? What kind of snack items do you like? That's not what it's asking. It, for example, says, today's your birthday. What kind of food would you like? Or it would be, during a traditional celebration, what kinds of foods are prepared? How does your typical family's table look? So like, what kind of foods are on it? How are they organized? Do you have a table? Because not every culture has one. That's a fun thing I learned going on in Musafir recently.
Okay, so do you have any other questions we can answer for you? I'm really sorry, Dino, but we have to check with the director.
Well, as we always say, talk.
And then
Or as they jokingly say in America, at the moment you depend on technology.
Okay, do you have any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your attendance. Okay, hopefully we'll see you on Belouga.
Innovation announcements. Since there is a lot of leftover food from yesterday, it will be served downstairs at